Oh, and it's time once again for another couple of hours of absolute bullshit nonsense. Oh no, we're not in Westminster, are we?
No, they do that.
My thingy. It's been a while since we've done this on a...
I have a couple of ideas for what to talk about, but not really related to the topic, just...
I should put my bottle top away from my...
Do you have any ideas related to the topic?
To be honest, I did look up what the topic was maybe a week and a bit ago, and then forgot. And
we're recording
just realised
this on a Friday, which is unusual because it's...
we're going to moan and whinge about stuff that's happened ages ago.
It's Freshers Week next week. And
we'll be at the end of it by then. I know, hang on. Yeah, when this goes out. Yeah. And I got my money through, so I gone and bought me a new laptop, I did.
I got some money through too, and just sitting on it because I have more than £1,000 in my main bank account for the first time.
We're going to take.
It's not going to last, but yeah,
you're going to pay a little bit towards your food.
Yeah, also
even when you're getting free pizzas off me.
I need to buy a bus pass probably.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Okay. Wait to make a point. Right, do you want to do the intro and then we can talk bollocks? Do you want to talk a bit of bollocks and then we can do the intro and then talk more bollocks?
We were doing like stereo effect on the table. I thought it was good.
What?
Well, I thought, never mind, doesn't matter. It's got absolutely no sense to it whatsoever, so please rescue me from this hole I've dug myself into. Please, help me.
I'm confused.
Throw me a rope.
Okay, whatever the fucking hell.
Oh, look, take things away from me. I can't not fiddle.
Meow.
Well, you were the one that was talking about
and where we can see them.
Loud rubbing.
Oh, it's because we were snapping fingers, and I can't snap my left finger. It just sounds...
See, I don't call it snapping fingers, because that makes me think of broken bones. I call it clicking fingers.
It just sounds like I'm clapping my fingers more, because that's what the actual sound's coming from. I can do it with my right, fine. Very nice, loud.
I don't know why I'm moving my fingers all around, like in space, in front of the microphone to give it some kind of surround sound effect, because it's a mono mic.
Well done. Sound engineer here, folks.
Yeah, very sound.
Right. Shall we get started?
Probably.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
I should interrupt you on purpose.
You always... I was waiting. Hello.
Or maybe by accident. Ooh, it's a double header. That's what she said.
A double header?
Yeah, because I did it twice. I don't normally do it twice. I could just spend 2 hours interrupting you.
You normally do it more.
I could spend 2 hours interrupting you. That would be entertaining, wouldn't it? What is the purpose of our...
Fuck it, the podcast's begun. You don't get to introduce yourself. Welcome to
please,
Breaking Bollocks episode 68.
Because my brain will explode if we don't introduce.
We need some format to start this off with.
You got to give me somewhere to insert the logo.
When you interrupted me, I don't know. Anyway, right, I'll try again. You will shut up.
Okay. For fuck's sake, please. I can't cope with life.
Hello, Internet. I'm Firebolt.
And I'm the Orbiter.
That my voice broke then.
That one's staying in.
Before the intro.
No, we started now.
Fine. Okay. Welcome to God.
Welcome to God.
We're discussing purpose, so
we've got 78 YouTubers now. We've got
78.
Yeah,
it's gone up.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I mean, it's not much, but
but it's for us. It is.
It was really just staying at one number for like months.
We should have something planned for when we reach 100 followers on YouTube.
Feet pics. I don't know.
Feet pics?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they like toothpicks, but for picking stuff out between your toes?
No. Oh, that's just making me think. You know that thing where they put like the wood under people's toenails?
Oh no! They do it with fingernails though.
Yeah, but they do it with both, I think.
Yeah, for torture. Why would you do that? Why would you bring that up?
Because you said feet pics. Well, you said like.
So can we get on with slagging off the government, please?
Oh yeah, news. I've got quite a few things to talk about.
It's going to be old by the time we get there because England's going to be like. Well,
which fuck up should we slag off first?
I saw a very damning live speech by the Welsh First Minister today. This is Friday what date is it? 18th. Basically, there's been lots of job losses. Well, apparently, according to the First Minister of Wales, there is a vacancy at the heart of UK government. Do you know how long it is since Boris Johnson conversed with the other First Ministers of the Union?
Directly?
Yeah.
I would guess...
Well,
before lockdown.
By brief phone call.
Before lockdown.
It was 28th of May was the last time that Boris Johnson spoke to any of the other First Ministers.
Right.
And it was just a brief phone call. It was a really damning speech. He was basically saying that... Yeah, I
saw something saying about because they'd been really chaotic with everything, just say, like, hand over coronavirus things to Nicola Sturgeon because she seemed to just be leading on policy on everything with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the test and trace app isn't still in place in England, is it? We've had it for a couple of weeks.
No, well, they can't actually get tests because 10 of the top hotspots...
the tracking app thing.
Yeah.
The mobile phone thing.
But part of test and trace is that tests are widely available, so if you think you have it, you can get a test, and then you can trace those tests. But they're not actually available in most of the places where coronavirus is showing up in England. So someone actually did the maths and found out it would be quicker to get a flight to Germany to get a test, rather than get one from England.
The thing that struck me when watching this speech from the Welsh First Minister was I was actually feeling as though it was not unlikely that Wales might be looking for an independence referendum as well, because it was basically saying that whenever Westminster talk about the UK, they're basically talking about England.
Yeah.
Now, that might seem obvious, but
the one that's promoting this idea of the union. It's but no one else wants to be in it now.
We expect that from general public because there's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of people that talk about interchange England and the UK because they're not really thinking about what they're saying. But to get that kind of terminology coming out of Westminster is they're the ones that are supposed to be getting it right. You know what I mean?
Supposed to be. I saw that this isn't really a big news story. It's just entertaining. Do you remember Chris Grayling?
Yeah, I used to get him mixed up with AC Grayling. I know they're very different people.
Yeah, he was Transport Minister under Theresa May's government for a while, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Quite infamously fucked up on ferry contracts to do with Brexit.
Yeah,
and spaffed a lot of money off the wall. Yeah. I think his fuck up basically cost the country about 2.4 billion in the end.
Yeah, it was on a contract for boats that didn't exist, wasn't it?
He's now got a 100k a year position managing ports.
Yeah, it's a fucking joke, isn't it?
Yeah, he gave a ferry contract to a company that had no ferries.
So long-term listeners may remember, I don't know, but for those who don't remember and anyone who wasn't around at the time, a while ago, we gave a fair amount of detail about a battle that Star Stuff have been fighting to get disability allowance, didn't we?
How much are we legally allowed to talk about this? Because I'm not sure.
What do you mean? We're allowed to a certain extent. We're allowed to say that DWP are fucking.
Right.
That we did say on here that we spent basically about 3 years going back and forth through the appeals process, and finally, eventually got the lowest rate that you can get from
£23 a week, which is not enough to live on
from a tribunal.
Tribunal.
Well, last week DWP took that away, even though it had been guaranteed for 3 years. So
yeah, because.
Even though a tribunal had said, yeah, they've basically reversed that decision.
I'm not sure if they're actually allowed to do that, because the DWP has a history of doing things that they're not really supposed to be doing, as do a lot of government ministries.
They're being fucking chances is what they're doing.
To the point where, since the last podcast, the government, I think, openly admitted in Parliament they plan to break international law by reneging on the Brexit deal that would protect Northern Ireland's situation with Southern Ireland.
That was interesting. I when I'm getting ready for bed, I sometimes pop the news on. Now I've got a TV in my room. Oh, I feel posh. And it's usually what's going to be in tomorrow's papers. And today's Daily Star was basically a full front page. They don't normally get too far into politics, but their front page was very... basically, it was a picture of... Boris asking Dominic Cummings where he thinks the public stopped paying attention to the law regarding social distancing and travelling and stuff like that.
They didn't know until the government placed financial incentives on, well, first of all, offering half-price meals under limited conditions, but like... That was a very successful campaign. If you ignore the fact that there's a global pandemic going on, and that it's fucking stupid to tell people to go out to fucking eat.
There was a point that Welsh First Minister made, was that because there's been no consultation with the other First Ministers, and after all, even though the other ministers such as Michael Gove and the other sort of government machinery have been kind of in touch with each other. Essentially, when it comes down to it, major decisions are made by the Prime Minister or the First Minister of the country once all of that has happened. And the Welsh First Minister was saying, well, England have been back and forth over all of this, and basically they're now having to tighten the lockdown kind of the rules at the moment because of the upsurge in cases. But he was saying that if England now turn around and say, if you can possibly work from home, you should, having said, go back to the office and do your work from the office, then Wales wouldn't have to actually change anything anyway, because they've never changed that advice. They've said all along, work from home if you can.
They tell people from London to drive to Cardiff to get a test.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would imagine Wales is having quite a hard time of this as well, because they're normally grouped in with England. Like, their laws are a lot more similar.
They're not quite as devolved as Scotland, are they?
Or Northern Ireland. Yeah, both Scotland and Northern Ireland have more powers, I think.
Did you see Joe Biden getting involved in the Northern Ireland thing?
Well, America has, I think, historically done that, haven't they? Yeah,
but, yeah... He was saying he's not having any of that nonsense, didn't he? Like, if he gets in, he's not going to countenance anything that would facilitate a breakdown in the Good Friday Agreement.
I mean, by all means, fuck Joe Biden, but like on that issue, yeah, he's right there. But like, I see with Brexit as well. Like, they keep saying about getting a trade deal with the US. It's like, well, you're going to fuck up Ireland. They're probably not going to be too happy about that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I saw mentioned about that in reference to Scotland is this was a thing that was in Financial Times today, actually. A big article on basically saying that this is Brexit and coronavirus are basically going to, well, Brexit in particular are basically going to break apart the union. It's just fragmenting now. Is that the issue of the food standards thing is kind of based more in Westminster. So basically, Scotland's going to be in a position of being told what they can and can't eat by Westminster after all of this is over, instead of Brussels.
Right. I mean, I trust Brussels more, really.
Well, yeah, because there's that whole chlorinated chicken thing with America, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. I mean, I'm assuming that. I mean, I know that it's about chlorine-washed chicken, but I don't know what. I don't know the science behind why that's specifically a bad thing.
Kind of the way they do it, it makes it harder to detect the actual diseases, I think.
It's just like kind of bleaching it.
Yeah, it's basically washing it in a way that it passes like food checks, but like there could still be shady stuff on there, I think.
Right, so it's maybe like coating it in a hygienic coating, whereas the germs also would be inside.
Way overuse antibiotics.
Yeah.
Jesus, there's just so much this government is just fucking incompetent at. Jesus.
Well, see, the thing is that, that's the thing.
That they'd be able to go back to schools as well, and now
you got to wonder how much of it is done on purpose, haven't you? Really?
Well, they try and find an easy way to scapegoat someone for their fuck up, so they're blaming young people for coronavirus cases going up.
Yeah.
When they told them to go out to eat, go back to work, and go back to school, not only giving financial incentives to do so, but threatening consequences if they didn't.
Well, as of today, obviously this is going to be a lot more by the time this episode goes out next Thursday. But as of today, I think it's an extra 4,200 or 300 cases a day in England in the last 24 hours, and that's gone up over 1,000 since the day before. So it's definitely on the rise again. But I mean, what makes me laugh is they're bringing in more measures, not full lockdown, but in certain areas there are measures being brought in next Tuesday.
Right.
Things such as pubs and restaurants will be told to close at 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, I don't get, like, how is it going to spread less just because you close it earlier? Like, I guess less traffic at those hours, but like people are still going to go in and spread coronavirus. People are probably just going to pack in more to that time where they're allowed in. Yeah,
and this stuff about blaming young people is bullshit, because I'm going back to the gym now, and there are, you have to book. There's only 2 people allowed in the room at the same time for a workout session, and you have to wear masks in public areas, the social distancing and all that lot. But coming back out, I then book for the next day, and I had to stand there a good 10 minutes because there's a cafe in the foyer area where all the local sort of pensioners go to get their lunch and what have you. And they're basically queuing up right across the front of the reception window. So I couldn't actually get to the reception window without going really close to somebody. They're all about like a metre apart from each other. They're all like, if they start talking to each other, they're kind of leaning in really close because they can't hear each other. It's like, and you see it in the supermarkets as well. It's like you can't, on one hand, say that it's the young people that aren't doing the social distancing, and then go to the local supermarket and just barge past people and think that saying sorry is going to cover it. It's like everybody is equally.
Well, I guess the idea is, depending on how old these people are, that they probably shouldn't really be going out in the first place in the middle of the pandemic, considering they're most at risk.
Yeah, I don't know what the rule is on that, because I know during a lot of the...
I understand
the original
can
3
be
months
difficult
being
if they're
over
like
70s.
on their own.
Because there was that whole kind of people in these risk categories should stay isolated, wasn't there? And I don't know if we ever came out of that or at what point.
The messaging's been so inconsistent from the UK government. We've got a bit of a different situation in Scotland, although it can be a bit confusing knowing which advice that Scotland's actually going by, considering that they seem to be operating independently.
Thing is as well that I know it certainly helps not letting households mix with each other, but there's talk of what Boris is calling a circuit break, of having like possibly a 2-week national lockdown in England in October. And that's just reported rumours at the moment, but usually that's kind of been leaked to prepare the public for when it's going to happen. You know, the language has changed gradually, slightly over the last couple of days, and I've been thinking, they're edging towards just preparing people for, when they say like, we don't want to have to implement these measures, but we will if it becomes necessary.
Sorry. Oh, but
it's like, that means in about a week's time you're going to implement those measures, basically. But one of even if they do that, they're going to be keeping schools open. Now, I know there's a lot of, and there's not a lot you can do about it, but there is a lot more involved in the issue of education than just keeping the disease under control. And, I know it's a complicated issue, but how do you get around that kind of problem that all of the younger people who are less at risk, but can also transmit it, are going out, mixing at school and coming home every day?
Yeah,
the households aren't mixing, but
closed systems.
No.
The teachers as well.
I'm not saying that schools should be included in the national sort of lockdown, closure, whatever, because there is, like I say, there's a lot more involved, but it's just an impossible situation,
But if we locked down properly and didn't go, we just need to go back to offices and have this national spirit, and do you remember at the start of this they were genuinely going for herd immunity, and when that fucked up so badly, they U-turned like they do on everything because everyone started hating them.
I actually thought I was having serious deja vu last week, because there was some extra measures brought in. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. Extra measures brought in on like the Monday. As usual, they gave people like a whole weekend to get out and do their last whatever. But on the Saturday, there were 3,500 people meeting at a horse race in Doncaster. Oh. It's like, is that not exactly what happened in March? But it was Ascot, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the 6-person rule.
Yeah.
Apparently, hunting, like pheasant hunting, I think, is going to be exempt from that. You're allowed to have up to 30 people for that, because the Tory party is just cartoonish at this point.
It is. It's laughable, isn't it? But it's not. But it's tragic, because it's just kind of, you just think,
Well, I saw something else today as well, which is
they've got for 5 fucking years.
While we can laugh at the Tory fuck-ups, although it is kind of with a bit of a sort of gallows humour, because we know it will fuck us over too. It will fuck a bunch of people over. People are going to die because of their fuck-ups, is what I'm saying. But like the situation in Yemen with the UK government still selling arms to the Saudi government, who is fueling the civil war in Yemen, where I think it's 2 kids are dying every hour due to starvation because of this.
There's a so-called axis.
And the aid
right there
is more difficult to get to them because of the pandemic as well.
In that,
where every single other party manifesto in the last election explicitly said that we would no longer be selling arms to Saudi Arabia, apart from maybe the Brexit party, but they didn't really have a manifesto.
Israel and the Arabs are now friends, aren't they?
Well, there was some deal between Israel and the UAE that was meant to normalise relationships between them, which Trump has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
The Palestinians haven't been involved in that at all.
Oh, no. But, I mean, they've kind of gone back on their plans to literally annex Palestinian territory because no international body would recognise that.
And Trump's taking the credit for that while
he literally made the fucking plan to annex it by the looks of it.
While travelling to California and accusing them of mismanaging their forests and saying the scientists don't know about climate change.
To talk about. Yeah, the whole west coast of America is on fire. There's 2 hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico for the first time in recorded.
No, that happened about a month ago.
Well, I'm catching up, I guess.
All right, okay. I think
there's a number of disasters going on at the same time.
Yeah.
The protests are still going on, and it's just no one's fucking talking about them.
Yeah.
While the president's endorsed the guy that...
Sometimes there's this panic at the beginning of the episode to try and get everything in before you forget what it is, but...
Yeah, he's endorsed the vigilante that shot 2 protesters, as well as endorsed the police shooting someone who'd reportedly killed a far-right activist, I guess, in a fight.
I wonder whether... Well, I'm expecting that this winter... Do you remember... Well, you won't remember. I don't even remember, and I was alive. But there was a year in the 70s... which was later kind of, I don't know if it was later or at the time, labelled as the winter of discontent.
I kind of vaguely know about that, but I kind of assumed it was like a Tory marketing slogan, essentially.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking this winter is I just don't know where we're going to be by the end of our first year at uni, because
Brexit's supposed to be happening at the end of this year, and they've reneged on the deal that they purportedly won the election to get through.
What do you think?
But they didn't read, apparently.
What do you think is going to happen? Is it April, the Scottish elections, or May?
It's sometime in the first half of next year, yeah.
I mean, I would be very surprised if it wasn't a landslide for the SNP.
Yeah, they've, I think, been gaining popularity during this.
And they're not really having to do anything other than be reasonable people.
Yeah, I mean...
because that puts them way ahead of what's going on in Westminster.
I think independence is polling as high as ever. I mean, I know this isn't really representative of the general Scottish public, but I did like a poll on, I think it was the Herald.
Yeah.
And yes, when I clicked through, was at like 67%.
Yeah, and it seems to be getting... I can't see it going back down again with everything that's coming up as well. It's like the momentum is going in... The only... slight risk, I suppose, is that it peaks too soon. But I just think that if it carries on the way it's going, by the time we get to the Scottish elections, they're just going to wipe the floor with everyone else based on independence. I mean, and what happens then? Because the Tories,
the way
certainly
that the
Boris,
Scottish election system works, it's a lot more proportional.
Do you think they'll hold? Do you think they'll hold a so-called illegal referendum? Do you think the SNP would do that?
I think there'd been like some suggestions of doing a sort of official poll that's not technically a referendum, but
that's all a referendum is.
Yeah, but like it's not supposed to be where you'd, I guess, like go to the poll specifically, but like where they might like mail you a ballot or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Also, I nearly forgot this. Trump has signed an executive order for some sort of patriotic education program that I think he's calling the 1776 Project or something.
That sounds vaguely Nazi.
Yeah, a lot of people have pointed out, okay, yep, sounds a bit like Hitler Youth there. To apparently combat narratives about American history that are just basically correcting all the miseducation that has gone over, that has happened for a long time, especially in the South, where there have been specific campaigns to basically repaint the Civil War as something just about states' rights. And
speaking of which, I mean, talking about rewriting history, that was one of the points made in that Financial Times article about the language that Boris Johnson has been using in relation to the situation between England and Scotland, and denying that there is, saying that basically there isn't a border. And the Financial Times was referring back to the Articles of Union that were kind of drawn up back in, is it the 1700s?
Yes, 1706, I believe.
And there was no mention of making us one nation. It was, the border was to stay in place. It was basically, it was a trading agreement, much like what we've had with Europe. So that's, we're as much a part of the UK as the UK were a part of Europe. It's not the case that there's no border. They are separate countries.
1707. Oh, it was signed in 1707.
They're recognised as a United Kingdom, as a nation state, but in terms of blah de blah 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 blah, in terms of whether or not there is an actual border, there always has been. But he's using this language to kind of which is worrying really for me, because it kind of it's leaning towards beginning to treat Scotland as a part of England.
Essentially, it was to do with the crowns of Scotland and England more at that time, rather than like parliamentary governments.
Well, I say treating Scotland as a part of England. What I mean is treating Scotland as a part of the UK, while conflating the definition of England and the UK, while using the term England and UK interchangeably, as though they're the same thing.
Yeah, well, it seems that since England doesn't have its own devolved parliament, it's sort of like that's their de facto sort of. That's sort of, I guess, how they see themselves in government, because that's effectively what they govern over, the United Kingdom rather than England.
Yeah, which is weird. I mean, they're going to get what's coming to them, because they're the ones that are going to end up with Westminster.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure even fucking London wants to be part of it anymore.
Well, technically, you see, the city of Westminster and the city of London aren't the same thing.
Oh, yeah, well, Greater London's not actually technically a city, but whatever. Yeah, it's a really small bit in actually like the centre of London. That
always makes me laugh when they call Luton Airport London Luton. It's about, I don't know exactly, but it's probably about 40 miles outside London.
Yeah, but they have to have the name recognition. Otherwise, who the fuck knows where Luton is?
What's her name? Who was that? There was a woman. Luton Airport in the 70s or 80s. I can't remember her name.
I don't know.
I don't know if it was a song or a comedian.
Think you know. The other thing that I wanted to talk about while you just expulse gases is bit of an update in the saga of JK Fuckface.
Oh yeah.
Basically, with that really big transphobic essay rant kind of thing, which was many eons ago, it feels like, but it was this year, I believe. She said that she was researching trans people because of like research for a new book.
Now, I've got something to say about this, because I did read, and I don't know if it was in a tweet that you retweeted, but there was somebody pointed out that if you know anything about the cycle of timing that's involved in working on a novel and getting it edited and then published, then you would know that all of what happened earlier this year was just a publicity campaign pre-publishing.
Yeah,
because that book was written already.
Yeah. Basically, it can't have been that she'd said these transphobic things and then been pushed to write this book, which, by the way, the premise of it is she's also writing it under a male pseudonym, which I just found to be added irony to the whole thing.
Is she still doing that? Or has she gone back to just calling it J.K. Rowling?
No, she writes her crime things under Robert Galbraith, which I'm not sure. I didn't actually check up on this, but I think is someone in history that was involved in conversion therapy, which feels just apt. The story just gets better and better. Basically, the premise of it is that this cold case from the 70s of a cis man dressing as a woman to get to his victims. Which is clearly how she thinks of trans people, given what she said. Also, it's just not original. Like, I think you said to me, like, yeah, The Silence of the Lambs, I think, is about that. But at the time of that wasn't really based in, like, transphobia.
Yeah, I don't think that's specifically. I don't think he does it to get close to his victims. I think he just does it in private because he gets a kick out of it.
Right.
But
I mean, there is a thing of that where, like, a lot of queer people see themselves for the first time as represented by some sort of monster.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of people's first exposure to sort of, I guess, drag, but it's sort of on the edge of being trans, would have been like Rocky Horror with
I'm watching back through all the old episodes of Friends, and it did occur to me because there's a character in that, you know, the what's his name? What's the name of the guy that voices the giraffe in Madagascar?
I don't fucking know.
David Schwimmer. He plays a character whose wife, was it his wife? Yeah, it was his wife. Turns out, or I don't know, becomes or turns out to be lesbian and leaves him. Although I think she's pregnant with his child at the time. But anyway, there's all this stuff going on. So basically, the child spends some time with him, but also spends a lot of time with the two women parents at home, sort of thing. And there's a big but kind of discussion that goes on about this child wanting to play with I think it's a boy, and it wants to play with Barbies and dolls and stuff like that, and he's very much trying to encourage it to play with action men instead and all this sort of stuff. And it's this is it seems to me like the idea of writing under a male pseudonym is really reinforcing those stereotypes. It's like a woman reinforcing the stereotypes that men are more associated with a particular subject matter, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not sure why
more successful, I don't know.
She would write, I mean, I could kind of, I guess, get writing under a pseudonym, so like it's not just J.K. Rowling, oh, that's the person that wrote Harry Potter, because it's not anything to do with that.
But what was the real name of the author of Frankenstein? Because they published it under Mary Shelley, didn't they?
I think it was Mary Shelley.
I thought that was a pseudonym.
No, you might be thinking of George Eliot.
Possibly. I'll tell you what might be confusing me.
I think Mary Ann Evans, but there's a whole sort of debate around, well, she possibly wrote under a pseudonym so she would get away from her father's name being on it.
I would see the reason I'm thinking that is possibly because of a line Michael Caine says in Educating Rita. There's a whole thing about okay. He makes some kind of reference to Mary Shelley and the Frankenstein kind of thing, which made me think maybe it was written by a man under a woman's pseudonym, but it's not, is it?
Damn.
What?
Your dad was an anarchist. Kind of cool.
Yeah, it can't be a bit of anarchy.
I'm
talking bullshit today.
Sort of discourse around this new book is sort of, I mean, people are like, obviously it's just kind of gonna be like 900 pages, I think, of like just transphobic bullshit essentially. While there might be some good things in there, it's like it's a vanity project that she's going to try and get people to buy for that.
That's prejudiced.
Well, given that the whole thing seems to be a publicity campaign for this,
yeah,
and she's announced it in the way that she has, it's clearly meant that the people that are saying, "Oh, I stand with her," and agreeing with her are supposed to be the audience. Even if they don't read it, a lot of them are probably going to buy it just to sort of spite trans people.
Yeah, but I know it's justified, but I think the best thing that can happen is that people just ignore it, because it's the publicity that she's doing it for. It's kind of, I mean, let's face it, we're giving her more now.
Well, there's that, but like, that she's sort of in the discussion about this. It's sort of clear. Oh, she's definitely transphobic, and not just that she's said a transphobic thing or wrote something and didn't learn from it. It's like she is deliberately doing this, where she knows the impact of it, and is using her immense power and influence as a celebrity billionaire to hurt marginalized people. She's now a sort of face of I don't know. Campaign.
Thing is, I don't think I wouldn't credit her with that much.
She's become the face of a hate campaign, whether or not she intentionally.
But I wouldn't credit her with that much purpose for what it is she's achieving. I would say that she doesn't give a shit and is really only in it for the money. You know, it's I don't think I wouldn't particularly give her the credit for kind of believing the shit that she's coming out with. I just think she knows it's going to make her a lot of money.
I think she does, and I think she genuinely believes that it's her duty to kind of shit on trans rights activism, which whether or not she believes that will hurt trans people, it absolutely will.
But you see enough people feeling that same thing gives her more publicity, which in essence makes her money. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I think the best people can do is just
the money thing is sort of, because people have discussed how to sort of deal with, like, oh, should we still buy Harry Potter stuff because that will give
there was
her
a
money.
big uproar about that from religious people, wasn't there? When they first started coming out.
Yeah, but this is justified outrage, kind of, at that you will be giving money to someone who uses that power and influence to hurt people.
And religious outrage isn't justified.
No.
I'm playing devil's advocate, literally.
Well, quite the opposite, really.
No, not in my book.
Okay.
Lucifer's the bringer of light.
But basically, there's this new game set in the Harry Potter universe that's supposed to come out soon-ish, I believe, or some point next year.
That reminded me that Bill and Ted's out soon. Sorry.
And people are sort of discussing, oh, should you get it because it will give money to her? Because I saw someone discussing this and sort of linking it to this idea of death of the author, where, say, with something like H.P. Lovecraft, who's quite known to be pretty racist, and that's like part of what actually influenced his sort of the whole Lovecraftian thing. It's to do with like the fear of the other, and that's quite intrinsic to his actual writing. So people sort of reimagine that.
See, I don't want to never watch Harry Potter again, because it's a shame. I think she's kind of, well, she's fucked it up, really, because I would like to still be able to watch Harry Potter and forget about all this bullshit, but I know I can't. I know when I'm watching it now, I'm going to be thinking...
Well, I think people are using that it's been reclaimed by the community to be something else as some sort of justification for actually buying stuff. And while you can absolutely do that to sort of, I guess, reconcile like your emotional connection, because Harry Potter, I think, does mean quite a lot to a lot of people, especially queer people, which is why this particularly sucks.
Why does Harry Potter especially mean a lot to queer people?
Well, it's sort of about a world where, there's weird people.
Right, yeah, you're kind of living in the shadows of society, and kind of...
Well, I think like Luna Lovegood, I think she was, at least in the movie, it's been a long time since I've read the book, I think called queer at some point in it, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, but in the old-fashioned sense.
Yeah,
which
but
is kind of
like,
ironic as well, because...
It's sort of been used as an escape, I guess, for a lot of queer people, as it's supposed to be about a world where you being different isn't a bad thing, and it sort of actually is quite a powerful thing. So it's also quite just disappointing, because it actively goes against the sort of very philosophy in that work.
Do you think, are we turning into a queer podcast?
I mean, I'm queer, so it's at least half queer, and I don't think you're closed off to being weird.
Well, that's kind of revealing in itself, because I don't think of queer in the modern sense of the word to be weird.
It's both, and I think that's okay. That's quite liberating to me.
Both what?
It's both meaning to be gay, or a sort of...
Yeah, no, what I mean is I don't think of it as weird. I don't think of queer as being weird. I think of it as normal. I think of it as just as normal as being straight.
Right, but like I find it fun to be queer. And queer in the weird sense too.
But I mean, people find it fun to be straight as well, don't they? I do.
I don't know about that.
It's not a game. It's just who you are. It's kind of... It's not...
Yeah, but it's because queer people have been told for so long that who they are is wrong, that it's sort of... Now that they're allowed to do that.
But that's only specific to sort of gender or sexuality. Everyone gets told that there's something wrong with them in one way or another.
Yeah, but not to the extent where they're burned alive to the point where that becomes a saying that is chanted at them as a slur.
I don't know, because witches were burned.
Well, that was actually tied into it. The whole fag thing comes from people were burned alive and chanted faggot at them as if they were lighting a cigarette. That's where that connection comes from.
Well, faggot was a bundle of sticks, wasn't it?
Well, they were burning them in that bundle of sticks.
Yeah, I don't think cigarettes were a thing that long ago. Don't know. Tobacco certainly probably was, but apparently
people haven't been told that there's something wrong with them to the point where they've been killed and systematically discriminated against for it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that that's not specific to people of different genders or sexualities. It's, the Jews went through all of that. The blacks go through it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's normal. Unfortunately, it's.
I mean, the writing of Harry Potter, there's quite a lot of discussion about how a lot of it's kind of shit to do with race, like how there's a whole species of.
I used to go through it because my hair was long.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. You're not systematically discriminated against because you have long hair. You might get a few nasty comments, but you're not literally going to be killed for it.
No, but there's a vast difference in that sentence that you just said, because you went from being systematically discriminated against to being killed, which are two very different things.
Well, they happen in the same world.
You can have prejudice bias without it being deadly. In other words,
your life was not significantly affected because you had long hair.
It might not have been necessarily.
They're not the same thing.
No, I'm not saying they're the same thing. I'm just saying that there are other things which affect people in the long term because of prejudice. Death isn't the only bad thing about prejudice. People's lives get ruined through prejudice over years because of their lifestyle, whether that's because they're queer. I'm not trying to take away from the difficulties that queer folk have. I'm just saying that I'm just trying to justify the fact that I don't find them queer. I think that people being different in any way is normal, and it's right, and it's to be applauded.
Right.
But I think as time goes on, I mean, where are we going to be when it gets to the point where being what we think of as queer now isn't queer anymore? Because it's normal. It's like, well, where's, is the joy going to have gone out of it then? This is what I mean about, straight people have joy in the way they are as well. Joy is a separate thing.
It's sort of because people still use that as an insult.
Yeah.
That it's sort of reclaiming the word so that it can't hurt us anymore, because it's just like stating a fact. It's like, oh, you queer. It's like, oh, thank you. I'm glad you know.
But I think it's fucking. Don't you think that's a betrayal of a portrayal and a betrayal of the way society is in general? That it's not considered appropriate to be happy, to be joyful about being alive, to be kind of. I mean, that whole thing about being gay. It comes from this thing about being proud of who you are and being and loving being alive and all that sort of stuff. Why is
kind
society
of
so against that
way?
Yeah, because the standard, the norm is to be a miserable old fart and be crushed by the system.
Well, that's called being part of society and functioning within it.
Yeah. So, yeah, be revolutionary. Find a way to be different and do it on purpose. Let's link it back.
But anyway, the sort of discussion around sort of death of the author, that's sort of intended, that phrase is intended to mean...
Death of the author?
Basically when a text, like a piece of fiction, sort of gets taken on and by like fans of it and sort of means something different, where the author's influence has been so dulled down that it's sort of like they're dead.
Yeah,
however,
I'm gonna.
Well, there is a flip side to this, that J.K. Rowling isn't actually dead.
Yeah, but
so she still gets money and influence from.
I would like to think that in a limited fashion, I'm a creative artist, and I take the view, as do a lot of people who are successful creative artists, a lot more successful than me, that if you really are an artist and you really know what you're doing, you die in relation to a work. You die as soon as you complete it, as soon as you give it to the world, because you don't have any control over it. And the number of people, especially songwriters that I'm aware of, who refuse to define what their work means because it's intended for the observer to find their own meaning in it.
Yeah, but when the creator of that has so actively railed against people that have probably found meaning in her work, it sort of takes away from it. And even if you buy that and you're like, well, it's not hers anymore.
Actually, in terms of that particular book especially, but probably the Harry Potter stuff as well, she's obviously demonstrated what I would consider to be an anti-artist, because she's not given it to the world and then let it take its own path.
Apparently, J.K. Rowling's in a bit of an unusual situation to most sort of creators as well, where she is like legally very linked to the whole Harry Potter thing deliberately. So it's not like with George Lucas, who created Star Wars, as most people know. He's not really connected to that anymore. So, like, if he does something, you're not actually really... If he's doing something bad with his money, you're not really funding him by buying Star Wars things. However, J.K. Rowling's uniquely linked to her works.
Yeah.
Where if you buy stuff like that, she will get some money and also influence.
I'm sure he gets income, even though Disney have bought Lucasfilm. I'm sure he still gets money.
So
he must do. I mean, he's credited in that must have been part of the deal. I'm sure he gets something. I'm sure.
But he's less linked to it than J.K. Rowling would be to her works.
Actually, I mean, I apologise to a lot of the After Dark network now, because there will be those among them who know a lot more about the inner workings of the deal, that was done with Disney and stuff. So I can't speak authoritatively of that. But I would be very surprised if he hadn't negotiated something whereby he gets, every time a film is released, he gets something from
my
that.
overall point is, with people sort of trying to justify either buying that new Harry Potter game or buying Harry Potter merchandise, that sort of thing, while you're in no way responsible for what J.K. Rowling's done, you are inadvertently giving her power by giving your money to her. And
it's a fucked up world,
giving that brand more power.
So inadvertently meaning not on purpose.
Yeah. She's using that power to hurt people. So just be aware of that. And it does hurt seeing... Because we have lots of Harry Potter stuff in our house. Most of it bought before we really knew about any of that.
I still like it. And to be honest, I would probably watch them purely for the music. One of my biggest attractions in any film is the music, and I think people perhaps don't necessarily realise how much of an influence that often has on their overall enjoyment of a film. I that's one thing I noticed a few years ago. I think I began to realise that the films that I really enjoy the most, and it's weird that it hadn't occurred to me before, but and try this as an audience and let us know if you fancy getting in touch, because nobody ever really does. But have a good think about all the films that you really like, and then think about their soundtracks, the scores, the music in them, and see if there's a link there, because I think maybe it's just as a musician. It's subconscious.
I don't think John Williams...
I mean, it could be a shit film, but if the music's really good, then I tend to think it's a really good film.
Yeah. But it is just sort of... I mean, I guess under capitalism, as I've said multiple times, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. If you buy something from Amazon, they're going to use that money as well to do shitty things, as they do. Or if you buy something really from any major corporation,
I'm going to say
they're probably going to do shitty things with it.
Since we're nearly an hour in, shall we?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's all right. Shall we specifically address the pure meaning of the word purpose and talk about...
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, do you have a purpose? Have you defined for yourself a main purpose in life?
Yeah, I did.
Something that you most want to
at some
get
point,
out of life?
I think it was about a week after my birthday last year. I decided that I'd found the meaning of life. Which
I remember you saying that.
It's quite entertaining.
Isn't it disappointing when 24 hours later you realise it's...
No, I kept it. I was quite happy with it for quite a while, and it's just sort of something that sort of just dulls down over time, I guess.
Isn't it interesting though how, because I think a lot of people have these kind of what you might think of as revelatory moments where you suddenly realise something clicks, and it's just like, oh wow! It's
I think it was
cosmic sort of awareness of something.
Trying to find sort of a purpose in the everyday and sort of just conversation. As what was at the core of my epiphany was sort of learning and teaching through conversation with other people.
Wow.
And improving the world through that.
And I think specifically about that sort of thing, it's you have that wow moment when something's new to you, whether it's an idea, a piece of music, a book, a film, and something like really kind of, but maintaining that, even though it's something that you know is a lifelong, it's a bit like when you find something new that you really, I mean, like meditation, for instance. Like for the first sort of week or couple of weeks of doing that every day, I thought, wow, I found something that really makes a difference in my mood and how I cope with stress and anxiety and stuff like that. And that's great. But then as time goes on, the more you get used to an idea or something new, the more you have to focus on maintaining it. Do you know what I mean? It's the long distance runner thing. It's kind of, you develop a different relationship with it, but it's easy for things to be fleeting.
Well, then I look back to that and kind of go, well, that's kind of been at least part of my philosophy for a long time before I had that sort of epiphany, I guess. But it was just sort of realizing that and taking joy in it. But then you look back to when I actually had that, and it's like I was in a relatively happy period of my life. Like I think it was
a girl called Joy.
I hope not recently.
No. Well, not in the last 20 years. No, I had a crush on another girl called Joy as well.
Does this have any relevance to anything?
Yeah, Joy.
Okay.
But it's a nice name.
Yeah, because it's named after an experience of happiness. It is kind of meant to be nice.
Can you imagine being like if you're called Joy and then ending up being a manic depressive?
I'm sure many people have.
But I mean, you'd be like a walking irony.
That's what my life feels like sometimes.
Or you could be called Miserable Sod and actually be the happiest person on the planet.
Yeah, that's sod law for you.
So I'm 49 very soon. I started getting birthday presents. I got a birthday present through from my mum.
Yeah, I need to know what to buy you.
Yeah, I think you'll have to negotiate with Nienna, I think, because I think I know what she might be getting me. I want somebody to buy me a coffee machine, but I think she might have nabbed that one.
Okay.
But you'll have to speak to her. And it's probably a bit too expensive, but I also want somebody to buy me a nice computer chair. But I don't think that's gonna be, that would be a bit expensive. Although I actually wouldn't mind if Grandad gave me his and bought himself a new one. That would be, because that's a nice chair. Although I fixed the cheap one, but it is a bit cheap and nasty, isn't it, that blue one? See, if I got a nice, comfortable computer chair, I could give you my old one, which is nicer than the wooden chair that you currently got in.
Prefer that, though.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing you expect.
I like putting my feet up on the desk, and with rollers on, that's a lot harder.
You put your feet on the desk?
Yeah. I sort of enter into...
sit over by the door or something? You've got quite long, wanky legs.
No, while I'm doing... While I'm
Hang
playing...
on. While you're what?
While I'm, like, playing games or watching TV, I'll...
Sorry,
No. Disgusting.
I am indeed. So, do you... I found it really difficult to talk about this because I think purpose for me is something that you have to define for yourself, and I don't think there's any inherent purpose in the human race. I don't believe in anything which is like, you know, when people say everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, unless you're talking about the laws of science, it's kind of, I mean, they have to be set in motion, I suppose. You know, the Big Bang or whatever is the ultimate beginning point for events. And there are consequences which spiral out into infinite realities stuff, but what are you doing? Oh, you're gonna. If we're gonna watch a video, I'm going for a piss first.
It's short. These videos are short.
Yeah, but I still need a piss, and I don't think I'll last another 54 minutes. Which is, do you know our last episode was 2 hours 10 minutes long?
Yeah, they often are. Yeah. Optimistic nihilism.
One of our listeners has now stopped. They used to listen to pretty much every show on the After Dark Podcast Network on their way to work at, I think, SeaWorld or Busch Gardens. I'm not sure. In Florida. Hi, Todd, if you're listening. We don't know you because I couldn't make it to the Universal thing last year. But yeah.
What did they stop?
I think they've stopped their job there. They're either working somewhere else or they've just lost their job. I don't know. I think they're moving on to something else. Well, I don't know. There'll be a lot of people lost their jobs all around the world at the moment, aren't there?
Well, particularly in America.
Although the company I work for, part-time in between studying, have just created 5,000 new jobs in the UK due to surge in demand.
What? Does this have anything to do with anything?
A certain pizza company. No, I'm just rambling. I'm just tangenting.
Well, can we watch the video?
Can I go for a piss first?
If you want, but you just decided to ramble about fucking Todd.
Are you gonna...
No offence, Todd, but I don't know what this has to do with purpose.
Well, from what I've heard about him, he probably has committed several offences, but
okay.
Certainly behind the wheel of a car, anyway. I'm just going to go and... You can say what you like about me.
I already do.
But I'll probably hear it.
Wanker.
Oh, how dare you.
What I'm actually going to do, just for a change, and I'm actually going to be really nice about him. He's actually not a bad dad. I really care for him, the Orbiter. And while he is cheesy, like his farts, he could be worse. Just thought I'd be wholesome for a change. I really hope he edits this bit, but now I've said that, he's not going to, is he? Fucking lazy arsehole. I've stopped being wholesome now. I bet he doesn't even know what wholesome means because he's so old. So fucking old. What a shitheel. What a fucking wanker shitheel. What the hell?
Don't panic. I'm back. I'm glad now. I've got stuff I want to say, but if I carry on talking, you're going to get annoyed because we're not watching this video.
Oh, I think this one might be better.
Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell, YouTube channel.
Yeah, we've watched videos from them before.
What's the video we're going to watch called?
Optimistic Nihilism, but the egg's probably worth watching too. But anyway.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I like that.
Yeah,
I think I might be an optimistic nihilist.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that sort of thing.
Well, actually, following the sort of logic of the argument that was made there, it's my choice as to whether or not I am, and I like the idea of being that. So that's something I should be if I like it.
I've got an ad here saying your guardian angel's name.
Whose?
Ask Angela to reveal your guardian.
No,
one of those ridiculous things.
I've got an itchy back.
The other thing I wanted to, that I think might be worth watching on this topic, would probably be the egg.
Do you know what I think is quite difficult though? Is that idea of defining for yourself what makes you happy. It's a trial and error thing, isn't it? Because on the surface, you might think hedonistically that just getting shit-faced and partying all the time makes you happy.
But it doesn't, does it?
Well, in the short term, if you're only thinking about tonight, it stands much more of a chance than...
Okay, but that's sort of... Okay, sure, you're happy, but you're not fulfilled. Those are different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I've learned over time is that actually the things that make me happy are making other people happy, and the best way that I can make other people happy is by
if you're an empathetic human being, you'll probably be happy by others' happiness.
Yeah.
And other people will hopefully be happy by what makes you happy.
It's like being a mood vampire.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at it in a way of like, oh, you're just making other people happy so you can be happy, so you're selfish. But like...
Yeah, I mean, as a vampire, you could binge on the blood of other people's happiness and suck them dry until they die, and then you starve. But what you could do is
do everything to symbiotic relationship.
Do everything to keep them alive, and then you can suck their happiness every day.
But that's symbiosis, yeah.
Yeah. Suck the joy out of your friends. And allow them to suck your joy back.
I'm going to ignore that. Do you want to watch
That reminds me.
Do you want to watch...
It's episode 69.
No, it's not.
It is,
It's episode 68.
No, it's not.
It's episode 68. I am sure of it.
I'm sure it's 69.
I know what episode 69 is because it's hilariously inappropriate.
Well, that makes my comment totally meaningless.
Well, there you go. Do you want to watch The Egg?
I'm just looking up in YT Studio what episode it is.
It is 68. I am sure of it.
Are you? I'm just looking it up. We've got 78 subscribers. 60. Yeah, you're right. It's 68. Bollocks.
Breaking.
I don't get to make that joke next time then. What's the next subject?
Racism.
How is that related to 69?
No, it's a serious topic and it's accidentally number 69.
Except in the sense of the yin-yang symbol looking a bit like 69. And being black and white.
Yeah, no.
Do you know, I used to have a ring. When I was a teenager, I used to wear a ring that had the yin-yang symbol on it.
Such a twat.
Why? That's the symbol of balance.
Yeah, but it's pretentious as fuck.
Yeah. But this was the late 80s, early 90s.
So,
well, you're talking about Filofaxes and coming out of Thatcher's Britain. Balance and harmony in the universe was rebellious.
I guess, but did you actually take that into your life at all? Considering what happened the next few years.
Well, I tried my absolute hardest. I couldn't have tried any harder to be at one with the universe.
Okay. Well, I guess that's about like we can link this back to the purpose thing about the darkness and the light needing each other equally.
Yeah.
And sort of in a fulfilling life, you kind of need... You need to be sad sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. You can't have good without evil.
I'm not advocating for like intentional suffering to make that happen, but like avoiding facing up to bad things because they make you sad isn't gonna...
Well, I mean, in a general sense, I mean, there's this idea of karma, but I don't think that really is a thing, is it? I mean, you got to look at some people's lives and think, yeah, but you know, I think
it's a way that people reconcile the injustice in today's world.
I try and when I'm suffering,
go, oh well, the universe has some way of sorting that out.
When I'm struggling, when I'm suffering, I try to look at life as a bit of a roller coaster and remind myself that if there are downs, there are going to be ups, and everything will, you know, balance out. But you got to look at some people's lives and think, yeah, that just doesn't play out in reality. Some people just have a shit life.
Yeah. And some people don't really even get to start.
Was it one of the videos we watched talking about shit life syndrome?
Yeah, how I think it was a lot of UK therapists have started sort of referring to people being in situations, often situations they've been put in due to the government being heartless shitheads.
But it does make sense when you think about it. You think, well, why would anyone assume that because somebody might be depressed or suicidal, why would anyone assume that is an inevitable, an avoidable situation, something that can be treated?
Yeah,
at the end of the day, there's nothing scientific in the theory that.
The video we watched, it sort of talked about how things like depression and suicide have been sort of medicalized.
You might just have a really shit life. Yeah,
it was sort of talking about, well, in response to how the world is, like, depression's a fairly logical response. Maybe not suicide, but
no,
there are situations in which killing yourself can be a sound, logical situation where you're not an insane person, but it's usually treated as insanity.
Yeah, it's you know, I must say, you know, if you're struggling, talk to someone, get some help, talk to us if you want, just, you know, do whatever you can to, but certainly don't feel that if you are having those kinds of thoughts that there's something inherently wrong with you. You know, that there are potentially many solutions, but at the end of the day, people don't reach those kind of thoughts for no reason.
Well, some people are more predisposed to that. There are unavoidable environmental factors there.
Yeah.
And
I feel quite lucky in a lot of respects.
We are, I think, but not in the ways that, like, we're well off financially in any way. I mean, sure, there are people worse off than us, but there are also people that are obscenely better off than us.
Yeah, I mean,
But I think in terms of our sort of...
We've had struggles.
Other valuable things, we're doing quite all right, I think.
Oh, that was a bit garlic bready.
Right. Do you want to watch the egg?
Why not? You're just trying to make extra edits for me, aren't you?
I want you to actually watch it, maybe, so you can quality check.
Not the whole thing.
You were on your way home when you died.
What philosophy is that? Because I've heard that before. Is it just a story?
Yeah, it's just
I don't mean I've heard that before, but I've thought that, that kind of...
A short story by Andy Weir. The idea is that you're reincarnated as every human on Earth at some point.
But there is some linear sense in that story, in that the idea is that either you, if you're kind to someone, either you have been that person in a past life or will be that person in a future life. So you're going to experience the kindness that you're showing that person. But there's also the fact that it feels good. You get benefit from it now.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't... I don't know who Andy Weir is, if I'm honest. I don't think that's some sort of spiritual story. I think it's just sort of an idea.
Yeah, I like the idea. I definitely like the idea. And I think I find it interesting playing with philosophies like that, in that one thing that always, I suppose I've got used to the idea, but I do like to play with it from time to time, is that what you know as the universe, everything that you experience, like everything you can think of at the moment, all the memories that you've got, all the people that you know, none of what you're actually experiencing is what the physical reality is. Everything that you know is contained in your brain. It's your reflection of what's out there, away from you.
That can become twisted and distorted in many ways, both by sort of your own sort of mental distortions, where you might see yourself as less sort of socially or psychologically, but also some people have it where, I think a lot of people have it where they see themselves physically different.
I think there's
maybe not to an extreme, but a lot.
But there is a danger in not in realizing that. There is a danger in not realizing that everybody's universe is inherently different because it's contained within their own brain. There is, when you treat the outside world that you're experiencing and living through as an outside world, you kind of by assumption, I suppose, kind of treat it as though things are a particular way and we are passing amongst reality, if you know what I mean. Whereas nobody's reality is the same. Everybody's reality is different because their brains are different. And if you're gonna live in a society, in a world where everyone is different, you can't.
But it's sort of,
you can't successfully make everyone the same.
Instead of one world, it's 7.7 or 7.8 billion different but interconnected worlds.
Now, this is where I'm going to go into a bit of a deep dive, because we have developed limited technology where scientists are able to visually represent, in a very limited way at the moment, but people's thoughts.
They're able to show brain activity,
Yeah, but there is also a way to translate that into you can very, very fuzzily image some of that now. And in terms of, there is, like, at the moment as well, they can get a human brain to control like a synthetic limb or something like that. What I'm getting towards is at some point it's feasible, I think, that there will be the possibility to have neural interfaces between people. Is that
how ethical
problematic?
Will that be, though?
Well, I don't know about ethics, because obviously...
Because it feels like you're giving... You're giving the manufacturer access to your consciousness, essentially.
Well, only if it's kind of on... Well, yeah, I suppose, in a sense. But then, are you not doing that every time you log onto the internet?
In a limited way.
But it's only limited by...
But if you install, like, some neural interface, then that could read everything.
Well, I mean, that's taking it a level further, really. But if you think of it as a closed system, which is a neural interface between just two people.
Technology that most people have now can read what we do every day. Like, people can theoretically turn on your microphone without you knowing, and turn on your camera without you knowing, and
but I can imagine a
find out
scenario.
Every single thing you're doing. However, a neural interface could find out every single thing you're thinking.
Yeah, well, which is why I'm talking about a closed system. Imagine being able to interface with one other human and be guaranteed that it was a closed system and it wasn't going to be accessed by anyone else or recorded. I know that's theoretical. That wouldn't happen because you're always going to get spied on.
Yeah.
But that mingling of consciousnesses, I mean, when you think in terms of, I mean, you might think that, that might be a futuristic way of really getting intimate with someone. Like, at the moment, we have physical intimacy in relationships. But imagine if you could share minds and not just bodies. Imagine the difference between when you've met somebody and you built up a relationship and then
you have
suddenly,
a mind fuck.
Yeah, literally. But then imagine if suddenly you decide to take that next step.
Oh, God, the phone's ringing.
Better get it.
Who's calling at this hour?
Hello? Hello. Oh.
I should probably edit this out.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. All right. I'm coming. All right. Bye. It's Mum calling from upstairs. There's a spider. Oh. Keep them entertained.
Oh, shit. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get another beer.
So, we were talking about literal mindfucks, yeah. But I mean, what I was meaning to say was, imagine that you built up this relationship in a physical world with somebody. You've done the nasty, you've done the deed, and you decide that it's time to share minds, and then you realise
like a Vulcan mind meld more than a neural interface.
Yeah, that would be a more accurate description. But it's not going to be what you thought it was, is it? I mean, the person that you're sharing your mind with is not going to be who you thought they were.
I wouldn't want anyone to be in my head. I contain this suffering for you.
Yeah, but you don't really, do you? You
don't
contain it that well.
I contain a part of it. If I let everything out, you would... I think if everyone let everything out, maybe the world would be a better place, but it would be unpleasant for a while.
There is that thing. Have you seen the film Liar Liar?
Yes.
Yeah, there is that idea that you know that just telling the truth all the time is a way that you could lead life.
Yeah, I try.
I don't always know what the truth is, though. I mean, you kind of, when somebody says, "How are you? How are you feeling today?" It's like you kind of have to make something up.
Because they don't actually care.
You don't know though how you feel necessarily. It's like,
oh well, yeah, I don't periodically.
I'm not thinking I've got a gauge I can look at.
Yeah, it's not that I'm at that moment thinking of how I am and then having to evaluate everything that happened to me in that day and go, yeah, pretty shit, to be honest, actually. Yeah.
It seems to kind of vary between I'm fine to I'm feeling really good, actually. But you generally don't.
But when you're saying I'm fine, you're probably like, I'm not actually fine. Because
I think the worst
good is probably actually fine.
The worst people tend to get nowadays is meh.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, do you want to hear how bad I feel? Do I want to tell you? Not really. Can we just end this small talk and be about?
Get onto the mind fuck.
No, oh god.
So, yeah, purpose. I mean, obviously, I mean, we're at a crux now, aren't we? We're at a crossroads. We're at a changing point.
What?
You're getting
humanity or us?
Oh, everyone really, but I mean us specifically in our everyday lives. You're getting all not anxious, but I think you're gearing up mentally for the change that's coming, aren't you? In the next week or two.
I kind of Wednesday night I kind of went. I wanted to just check about, because I've been doing stuff with like SAS, which is like the student finance thing in Scotland. I wanted to just check to see if there'd been any updates on when I'll be getting like the first instalment of my student loan. Like any information on when that might come.
You should have asked me. I can tell you that.
When's it?
Literally, when you go in, I said you have to go in. I mean, I'm assuming that you still have to do this. You should have a form with a barcode on it. I
don't. It tells me that I'll be getting a certain amount from student loans company and that I need to contact them to set up an account.
Well, you need to do that then, because I've had the form through. They send.
Do you get the form from the student loans company?
Yeah, the student loans company will send you a thing with a barcode on it.
I thought you did it through SAS.
No, SAS kind of process it, but once you've got that, you take that bit of paper into the uni on your first day, they scan it, and it tells their system that you've basically turned up, and then they will release the funds, and you'll get it within the next 2 or 3 days.
I don't know when the first time I'll actually be going into the uni is, though.
Well, it's looking like next Wednesday, isn't it, at the moment? I need my ID card.
Well, because I sort of panicked and...
So I can get my 16 to 25 rail card.
Put a bunch of stuff, like Freshers Week's events, in a calendar, which it turns out were on a student guide app anyway, so fuck my life.
No, that wasn't all of them. That was just... This is getting into boring stuff people aren't really interested in.
No.
You didn't want to talk about this on here.
No, I didn't want to talk about the specific things that we want to go to.
I do.
Fuck off. I don't know what they are off the top of my head.
Do you know there used to be a Star Trek society at my brother's uni?
Of course there was.
And for Rag Week, do you know what Rag Week is?
No.
It's something and giving. It's a charity thing where basically they do a week with the charity things. But they did a sponsored Star Trek watch where they would watch back to back every single episode of the original Star Trek series. And it took I think it took about a couple of days or something. But
really? I would assume it'd take longer.
There was only 3 seasons of the original series.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it took that long. But no, it would take... I mean, if you watched them all now with the films as well, you'd probably be into the weeks rather than days.
Yeah, well... But,
that took a different turn.
My brain...
I feel like we're wending towards the end of reality. Yeah, what do you want to do then? What clubs do you want to be involved in? I want to get active. I want to make a difference. I'm getting into rebellious student mode.
There's the big Freshers Fair on the Monday that has most of the things that I think. It doesn't actually say what's going to be there. It's just sort of the general thing for all things to come together. But
can I have a screw, please?
The bottle opener.
Oh, bottle opener, yeah, sorry.
You don't open it with the corkscrew part.
I did try to earlier, didn't I?
Yeah, the sort of societies which would involve the activism stuff, like there's a big Oxfam thing that involves a bunch of
I'll tell you what I'm interested in, actually.
Tuesday.
There's an Amnesty International one, which I'm quite interested in.
Yeah, I imagine that would be linked into like the Oxfam event in Freshers Week.
See, I'm interested in making a difference, but I'm not that interested in, like, for instance, getting involved in like political societies where you might be enlisted to go canvassing door to door and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't like party politics, but I want to change politics, which means
protest.
Yeah, basically, I don't really actually like any of the political parties, particularly in the UK. Like, I'm a member of the Greens because they're the closest to what I believe in, but like
they're giving a big push towards the Green yes vote for independence in Scotland.
Yeah, I did notice that, but a lot of what they do seems to be kind of soft approaches to things that I think are like, yeah, we might need to think about a revolution soon if this doesn't get sorted.
The problem is, though, that there's not enough of them at the moment. But I can see in Scotland, I think the SNP will be massive for a few years just to get through to independence. But after that, I can see the Greens getting quite a big...
I'm okay with the SNP, but I'm still sort of like... they're still doing it within a system that I think is irreconcilable with like climate change. Like
I follow a few different pages on Facebook, one of which I've actually got rid of because there was some kind of more xenophobic stuff on it, but the independence sort of based ones on Facebook, and I saw an interesting thing somebody was saying about if Scotland did become independent, it would probably be at least 5 years. It would take a reasonable amount of time for the English government to move the nuclear submarines down to, say, Portsmouth, something like that, from wherever they're based up here.
I'll probably try and put them like next to Yorkshire or something.
But during that time, we could charge them an extortionate amount of money for renting the space in the meantime.
I mean, I'm not sure we want them, but
No, but you can't just kind of... I mean, you've got to kind of facilitate their departure in some way.
Yeah,
you can't
but
just switch them off.
See, that was the thing with the original
Is it still
independence.
Trident?
Yeah, with the original independence referendum, they had like a huge document of what they actually planned to do if independence won, which they probably should have done with Brexit, so we didn't have 3 years of people going, well, I didn't know what we were actually going to do. I assumed no one was going to vote for it. It was kind of a joke. And then in a situation where...
coronavirus is the punchline?
Apparently.
Where are we?
Where they vote through the deal based on election and then go, oh, no, we don't actually want that, and we're going to deliberately break international law to renege on it.
I just realised we've been under... well, it's about 6 months, roughly, since the first major lockdown, isn't it? March, April, May, June, July, August. Oh, it's over 6 months now.
Yeah, the last day of school for me was
it's about 6 months.
20th of March.
But we've got about half that amount of time until we leave Europe. Like, I mean, I know we've left technically, but it's 31st of December
we're
is
supposed to be like
the cliff edge.
On our own. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Ireland with that, and they're not really allowed to go back on the trade deal because of that.
I mean, we all know what's going to happen over the next few weeks with the second wave. I mean, that's probably one of the only true things that Boris Johnson's said recently, is that today he's come out saying the UK is entering a second wave now.
Okay, but like, what does he actually plan to do about that? And is he going to own up to responsibility for it?
Not as much as he did the first time, by the look of it. So, I mean, apart from the fact that we were going into
very
spring
little
then,
that they did beforehand, that was very late, but
that's happening now. The measures aren't going to be as...
very little.
We're ending up back on politics, aren't we?
Sorry, yeah.
That's fine, though. Well, we're going to be winding up soon, aren't we?
Hopefully.
But we're coming into autumn, you know.
Yeah, well, it's something I did see is also...
I hope they didn't dismantle those Nightingale hospitals, or the Nightingale ones in England. They actually called something different up
there. There's probably going to be a lot less coverage on those when they shut down, if they haven't shut out already.
I can't remember, what was it they were called up here? There was a Scottish nurse they called it up after in, I think, was it Glasgow?
NHS Nightingale Hospital.
7 official temporary blah 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 blah. Are they still there? Are they still there?
Still open.
Yeah, well, they should be. But yeah, things are going to get back to. I just think it's going to be a long time before things get. But I saw the thing the other day that
this big show and dance about clapping for the NHS and caring, thanking the carers and thanking all our NHS staff with these rewards, which essentially were
that they had to pay for.
Yeah, a badge, and I think some people got like cupcakes and stuff. It's just like, well, that's nice. Like, a pay rise is what they need, because it's considering what they're risking here.
Or maybe access to some tests.
Yeah. And you know what pisses me off is...
Are you going to tell us?
What?
Are you going to tell us?
Yeah. You know how, like...
Go on, then.
There's certain conservatives that people will sort of point to as...
Most of them are very uncertain.
A lot of the public will point to and go, "Oh, this is one of the good ones, not the ones that stab you in the back."
See, we're on our second beer now. This is where the quality material starts coming in.
And then they still vote for all the things that the shitty things that the government's doing. Rishi Sunak can get fucked. I know a lot of people like him, but he can get fucked because he's a fucking snake.
I'm going to put a vote out.
That's what I'm saying.
I think we should do this because we wake up once we get into our second beer. I think we should have a pre-podcast beer.
No. We won't be talking sentences by the end of it.
Maybe not, I suppose, because perhaps the reason I'm waking up now is because I know that we're kind of heading towards the finish line, and I'm ready to. I'm not going to finish that sentence. I'm going to leave it in your dirty imaginations.
With like the Tory rebels over Brexit, like people go, "Oh, look, these are the sensible
the Rebel Alliance."
It's like, no, they were still there when they were fucking disabled, when they were fucking students. They were the ones doing it.
Who was fucking students?
Metaphorically. Although I wouldn't be surprised with Boris Johnson.
Oh, allegedly.
I mean, he's a bit of a tassel-head shagger.
Well, at least with Cameron, it was a peg.
God.
Which reminds me, we've still got an episode of Black Mirror we haven't watched.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think Netflix slightly glitched out with that.
Yeah, we missed an episode, didn't we? We got them in the wrong order and ended up missing the second episode of the last season. Do you know, I got a bit jaded with that when the episode with making your own choices came on, because I think I watched that so many times to try and get all the different choices that in the end I just got fed up with it.
I just watched it once.
Did you?
I mean, a lot of the endings just sort of went, "Oh no, do it again."
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a proper choose your own adventure type thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it was good as an experiment, I suppose, but it really, it's a case of it was a very, very basic version of a computer game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to getting my gaming laptop tomorrow. I'm gonna have ray tracing.
Ooh.
It's an RTX.
I don't know what that actually means, but it's a gaming buzzword computer nerds
I'll show you afterwards, but there's a comparison. In fact, I can show you now if you want.
It's all right. I should probably finish the podcast.
Basically, it emulates the way that light interacts with the environment in a realistic way. that other graphics technologies haven't in the past. So it makes scenes look a lot more realistic because the light is acting in the way that it would in that environment rather than the way the graphics designers think it would, if you know what I mean. It's basically modelled on real life rays of light.
We should probably get a little bit back onto the topic of purpose.
On purpose. We're 2 hours in.
Yeah, it might be good to talk about it a bit.
Well, we did talk about. I did try to. We did a bit.
Yeah. Well, we've kind
What's
of gone off.
What's the difference between a porpoise and a dolphin?
One's less intelligent, I believe. I think dolphins are more intelligent.
Just because you believe it doesn't make it true. Dolphins less intelligent?
No, a dolphin's more intelligent. I might have said something else.
I can't believe I'm managing to push you onto porpoise.
What is the difference between dolphins and porpoises?
Dolphins have longer noses.
Bigger mouths, more curved dorsal fins, longer, leaner bodies. They're basically better in every way. Fuck you, porpoises.
Yeah, I think it's quite fascinating that dolphins are actually whales, aren't they?
No,
they are.
No,
they are.
No,
they are orcas.
No, the way that goes is that killer whales are more like dolphins than most other whales.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dolphins
so
are not whales.
A killer whale is more of a dolphin than a whale. Is that what you mean?
Well, kind of. Yeah, they're orcas, and like a blue whale.
I thought dolphins were orcas.
They are orcas, but
that's what I mean.
That's a killer whale is also an orca, but they're different to most other whales. Like a blue whale or a humpback whale are much bigger and different. I don't think they have dorsal fins.
in terms of they're not fish.
No, they're mammals, yeah.
And so are whales.
Yeah, but so are we.
Stop making me out to be stupid, you biologist.
I did. To be fair, yeah, I have done like research projects on whales. So,
oh, have you?
Specifically, killer whales. Well, it was because I wanted to. It was this weird thing of we had to do a research project on a Scottish animal, so I wanted to do something on narwhals. So I linked it to
the haggis. Narwhals.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Yeah,
I get them mixed up because we did a computer game that had narwhals in it, didn't we? Starwhal.
Yeah,
that was it.
Because the national animal of Scotland is a unicorn, so I linked it back to narwhals. Because I like narwhals. Narwhals are cool. Fuck you.
They are. That was a good game, actually. I might have to play that with my new gaming laptop when it comes tomorrow.
That's on PS4, so you can't. Yeah.
Oh, bollocks.
There are a ton of games that I've got on Steam that I've never played.
Yeah, and we've got loads as well on what's that thing we subscribe to?
Humble Bundle.
Humble Bundle, yeah. I'm thinking of getting the Game Pass, the Microsoft Game Pass.
We were going to describe purpose.
I think we kind of covered it in a cosmic sense. You know, we basically took in the purpose of the universe, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. I'm not really thinking straight anymore. I think I've
Is it time to go watch Limmy?
Yeah, probably. My brain can probably cope with that better.
I'm intent. Oh, before we finish, actually, I should mention, and this is something that Craig and Stuart are going to have a dedication on, which I owe them some Christmas tunes on the piano, big time. They've done several episodes of It's Christmas podcast, which I promised them some Christmas tunes on the piano for.
It's not Christmas, it's fucking
No,
September.
I know, but musicians have to think about these things early. It's like Merry Christmas, Everybody was recorded in like July in the fire escape of a hotel. But anyway,
I did a Brexit parody of that.
I've built several websites that are going to come out over the coming months, but the first one is almost complete, called the-digital-pianist.com, which is my release promo website. I'm gonna get this album out. I'm gonna do Christmas in the Piano Lounge for Christmas, Volume 1.
Usually most websites use dashes as spaces. You don't need to say them out loud.
Yeah, but no, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
How many website addresses do you know that have got dashes in them?
Oh, this one's got underscores. But a lot of them do.
What one has?
The one that I'm on right now.
Where? That's a page though. The actual domain itself doesn't have dashes
off.
in it.
Fine, whatever. Shut up. Fine. Stop.
But I mean, on the off chance
Just
that nothing's actually there, because I've got several pages that are empty at the moment. But anyway, yeah, I'm planning on getting this album out there, fucking streaming, and you can listen to some piano stuff. Shit. There we go. That's my promotional blurb. Really makes you want to go and get it, doesn't it? I think we've gone a bit past. Well, we normally stop at 1, don't we? When we're podcasting, we usually wait for the second one till we hit the TV.
Yeah, but then you had to go kill the spider, and I was bored, and I'd finished my drink.
I think we should stop before there are casualties.
Yeah.
I got really confused there then, because there's a plant over in the corner with some spiky kind of branches, and I thought it was your hair. I thought you were turning into a cockatoo.
It's a new style. It's lockdown.
Instead of just a cock. Ow, that hurt! You are a cock. Why is that?
It's sticky notes. They're not very sticky. Oh, apparently they are.
Or maybe that's your forehead.
Oh god. Yeah, I blinked enough that it fell off.
That's what she said.
What?
Let's finish. Let's get the fuck out. I'm sorry. Our purpose was to record an informative and entertaining podcast, and we accidentally came out with this pile of shit.
In terms of purpose, kind of do what makes yourself and others
is this
happy.
the preachy bit at the end? Here comes the sermon. Do you know? I don't actually. That reminded me.
Stop being a massive shithead.
No, I had an influence.
Do you remember? Stop being a massive shithead, and everyone out there.
People
stop being dicks.
People do listen to us.
Be excellent to each other.
Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
People do listen to us, right? Do you remember me saying about that film, Tenet, and how everybody on the network was calling it Tenant?
What? Yeah,
well, the last episode of, I don't know what it was, Diz After Dark or something. No, something of Space
they
and
might
Beyond.
Have had other complaints.
Beyondness of Space. What is it called? Diz Parks and that other one that used to be Diz After Dark.
Why did you say space?
Because of Space Mountain, I think, and Buzz Lightyear. I don't know. I've no idea. But they twice they said Tenet, but then, yeah, Nick, you did go back to saying Tenant after that, but well done for trying.
Yeah, what
let's go. I'm pissed. I've got to stop before I incriminate myself.
Of Tenant's beer.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't, because a single Tenant's beer is still a Tenant's. It's not a Tenant, because Tenants is a brand name when you're talking about beer.
Yeah, but
Tenants, plural of people who are renting things. Yeah, a single one of those is a tenant, but a single Tenant's beer is not a tenant.
Yeah, but it makes me think of David Tennant.
Everything makes you think of David Tennant because you fancy him.
Where does this come from?
Well, this is what I've always wondered.
I mean, it's not untrue, but like...
Oh, this is why we watch Staged, is it?
No, because...
Do you fancy Michael Sheen as well?
No.
With his big bristly beard. I saw him in he was playing a serial killer.
David Tennant has a nice voice.
I thought you were going to say a nice arse then.
I haven't seen his arse.
A likely story.
Not to my knowledge.
Maybe he erased it.
I've perused many arses in my time. They may have belonged to a David of Tennant.
Shall we try and escape before it's too late?
Probably before we commit a crime.
Hate crime.
Not a hate crime.
I love crime.
Oh, that pervert.
Yep. And with that, I find it amusing that there's a picture of a dolphin splashing around on the screen. They are one of the only other species that have sex for fun, you know.
Yet they also rape people.
They rape people?
Yeah.
People?
Yeah.
Human beings?
Yeah. I think they do. Also, there's this story about Dick Van Dyke going out on
Craig fingers the dolphin blowholes.
What are those things? A lilo. He drifted out to sea on a lilo, apparently, and dolphins
brought him being gangbanged by dolphins.
No, dolphins brought him back to shore, apparently.
after gang raping him.
I don't know. Dick Van Dyke is a man of many secrets.
Well, that old bottlenose has many purposes.
Okay.
Or should I say porpoises? We've got to stop there, haven't we?
Yeah.
Stop. Just stop.
Right. I'm not sure this has been informative or philosophical.
I'm pretty sure it hasn't.
But yeah, we should probably do the outro just to end it.
Yeah, please.
End it now.
End this.
Listeners. End it. Anyway, I have been Firebolt.
I've been the Orbiter.
You just buttoned your mic several times.
No, I just chin scraped my fluffy bitch.
Yeah, but it's wobbling it.
You're wobbling.
Anyway, this
just
has been...
being silly.
This has been...
Oh.
This has been...
Get your face on.
This has been...
No, because I don't know where they've been.
This has been Breaking Bollocks, episode 68. Purpose.
It was an accident. I'm sorry. It was an accident. I didn't mean it to happen.
That's what you say to all the penguins.
Are they extinct yet?
No, surprisingly.
Puffins nearly are, aren't they?
I don't know.
Richard Attenborough. David Attenborough. Which is that? It's David Attenborough, isn't it? He did that big extinction thing. Ah, fucking hell. Every time I listen to Megadeth Countdown to Extinction from the 1990s, I'm thinking, here we are, 20 years on, and it's just getting worse. Let's not end on a low. Let's make it high.
We've already done the outro. This is
I know,
the
but this is
bit.
Yeah. So say something purposeful.
I think of something funny to say. Oh.
Too late. I think that was the only way to finish it, really. That got a little bit merry towards the end, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was just that little... What is that sketch? There's a comedy show where there's a sketch where they drink, I think, like 2.5 pints or something, but as soon as you get past
1.5 drink. It's
1.5.
That Mitchell and Webb look.
Yeah. It's like suddenly, like, as soon as you go
they
into
all
the
drink
next...
1.5 drinks, so they have enough confidence to do what they can't without it, but they're not too drunk to be ridiculous.
One sip more.
Yeah, one sip more, world in chaos. They start like a secret order of people that do that, and then one of them goes, well, it can't hurt just to have a little bit more chaos, fire. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what happened in 2020.
And probably. I need another wee.
That camera's still recording.
Oh. I could leave all that in.
You could do.
It would sound shit, but I could leave it in anyway. That's what she said. Ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba.
Talking about the acoustics of your ejaculate.
What?
It would sound shit, but I could leave it in anyway.
Squelchy. That is a term on, like, for, you know, when you convert something to MP3s, you get like a squelchy sound. Squelch. Squelch is a technical term in audio engineering. Squelch.
The more you know.
It is. I'm not entirely sure what it means, but I know what it sounds like. I don't know what causes it, or but it's. Don't you think it's weird though that you talk about sound in terms of bright and dark tones? It's like you tend to talk about things visually. I'm trying to turn the thing off.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.